Happy holidays. Today we're revisiting a Christmas classic with Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree.
Allow me to address the elephant in the room first and foremost. Once again, John looks significantly better as Ernest. He bought both costumes, and I'm sure that this was a nefarious plan of his to make me look like a fucking Wish version. This is an actual denim vest. This is just a shirt with the sleeves ripped off.
I took the sleeves off. You can see the strings.
And this is a much darker... God damn it. The contrast is all off. This is a movie that I don't think I've ever seen. Back in the day when I thought I was an Ernest fan, it was really just, oh, I've got these 2 VHS tapes, so there's only 2 Ernest movies. Scared Stupid and Goes to Camp. Or the jail one, actually. There's 3 in my world.
I've watched almost everything, though I feel I haven't seen Splash Mountain.
We're about to see daredevil consultant and world-renowned ride tester Ernest P. Worrell take the maiden voyage on Disneyland's newest attraction, Splash Mountain.
But you have seen this one.
Numerous times. I know it like the back of my hand, like most Ernest films.
And I did not. So everything that I say is gonna be completely just like, as a first time watch coming hot off it. We just sat down to watch it. And I gotta say, I don't think he saved Christmas at all. I think he, if anything, fucked Christmas up for the most part.
But that's the formula of every Ernest film. You know, he's the cause and the savior.
Did he save anything?
In the end, Ernest Saves Christmas. The title is accurate. Though kind of inaccurate because other people help him. So it should be Ernest and the gang.
The whole premise is that Santa Claus, he's running out of magic. He's been doing this for too long. He just doesn't have that same spark, both mentally and physically, I guess. Or I think they're both mental. I don't know.
You know, there was a time when I could remember every name on my list.
He's looking to pass on his duties as Santa, and he's looking at Joe, the longtime host of a children's show that was recently canceled. Unfortunately, Joe's agent is like, no, you're not talking to this guy. You've got to be a star. You've got to go make movies.
This is where Ernest comes into play. Because you think it's a simple task of just showing up to Florida, you hop on your plane, you land, and you could just go meet this, like, recently retired or fired actor. But nope, you get into the wrong cab, Santa. You end up with Ernest P. Worrell, cab driver extraordinaire. And
oh, he is the worst cab driver. If I ever got a cab driver like that, I'd be, what are you doing? There's a 5-car pileup because Final Destination just happened and you needed an extra Christmas tree for your pal Vern.
I've already got one, but I've got a friend I think that maybe use it.
But like Ernest delivers, he does drop him off at the Children's Museum. And on his way picks up, I guess, Ernest's little helper in Harmony Star, aka Pamela.
Yeah, she's just a klepto. She dines and dashes, and that's like our first introduction. She jumps in the wrong cab, or the right cab, depending on who you are in the situation.
Well, not to worry, little lady. You're safe with us.
Yep. She just goes with the flow and hangs out with them all day. Yeah. And overnight, like she stays at Ernest's house at one point. He's a super nice guy.
Yep. Loses his job because he's too nice.
I just had this hunch.
I am not running a charity operation here. This is a business.
Then realizes that he has Santa or Mr. Santos in this situation.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing.
My name is Santos.
Excuse me, Mr. Santos, we're having a conversation.
And they just keep talking him Santos because they think he's like just some random guy who's making a bunch of stuff up.
Mr. Santos, you live around here?
No.
Which honestly, if somebody came up to me and said they were Santa Claus, I would also think that.
He looks the part though.
You know who you kind of remind me of? Santa Claus?
Ernest is stuck with Santa's sack and Harmony. So they go back to the house. Ernest kind of believes. Like he's always like been a firm supporter of like the holiday spirit, judging by like his house, his cab, like all that stuff.
In his glove box, I saw a little bumper sticker, but it said, "Keep the Christ in Christmas."
So you think that the issue here, where the story's gonna be making Santa has to make Joe believe so that he can like pass the torch? No, it's the sack.
Hell yeah.
The sack is the problem here. They need to like retrieve the sack and find the sack.
Did you ever find your sack?
There's also another side issue where we have Chuck and Bobby.
Oh God, the returning cast members. You see these guys in all the things.
Who are like airport storage people.
And in this case, we've got boxes of reindeer. Poor Bobby got squished once in like an Acme style situation. And dude just looks at him like,
"Yo, Bob, break's over."
puts the thing back down on him.
But it was funny when when they were driving away and just Bobby was just like stuck to the back.
The reindeer start to float to the top, and so these guys are just losing it. They're just like, I don't know. We have to wait for this Mr. Elms.
Your name ain't Elms?
No, Ernest.
Which is like clearly supposed to be elves.
You got an ID?
There's that side story that's going on, which plays in throughout the film. Like they do get the animal control people to come in, and like there are some gags. It is entertaining, but it's not as good as our classic Ernest situations where they realize the sack contains the toys. The magic is real.
But this is where I thought Ernest was gonna save Christmas. I thought he was gonna become Santa. I'm like, okay, Joe is a write-off. He's gonna shave his beard. He's no longer even looking like Santa. I mean, Jim Varney doesn't look like Santa, so let's be clear with that one. But if he can pull out and make toys, I'm like, he's got this. And he starts pulling out this random shit. And Harmony's like, yeah, I don't want that. No, that's a flamingo with a little wreath on its neck. Well, hilarious. Not what I asked for.
That's just exactly what you wanted for Christmas.
What are you, crazy? Totally unawesome.
Not a log with like a bass attached to it.
You can't have an Ernest movie without a montage. And this is as good as we got as far as montages were concerned.
Which brings us to our next point in an Ernest movie, and that is the costume changes. Ernest always portrays different characters in his films, and we get 3 of them in this one. So the first we get is him dressed up, looking mighty sharp. I'm gonna add on this one.
Oh yeah, he did look really cool.
And we've got like early Britney Spears.
Isn't she a doll?
We've got them going to break Santa out of jail.
Santa's in the slammer.
If Ernest was this character all the time, he would be like the most successful man ever.
Fake it till you make it, Ernie. Like, he's put in there for vagrancy, I imagine, or just like false identity or something like that. But everybody in the jail loved him. They were singing along, and he even like cues some other guys down the hall, and they all clap out their cells. I thought this was just a really fun moment. You know, what you hear of jail doesn't usually play out like this. Like, you hear of the soap on the rope stuff.
Look at those beady, twinkling eyes, those merry cheeks.
So we get Ernest dressed up as our confident businessman. Then he moves on to everyone's favorite character, where they're going to find Joe's agent, and he portrays the old lady who pretends to be the agent's mother. You know how that's gonna play out.
I hate it. That's my least favorite costume. Or so I thought, until he became the hillbilly guy that shows up at where Joe is auditioning for a role, or he's starting to film his new movie. And Ernest is a snake wrangler.
I got a truckload of snakes for them horror movie folk.
Not only did I not like his character, but I didn't like his cargo. But I kind of did, because it was hilarious. There was Santa in the back wiggling like some hose and shaking a rattle to pretend like he was a bunch of snakes.
But the gag got better in the end when like the people on the movie set decided to return some snakes to him and threw like a tub of like real snakes in the back, and Ernest had that like priceless reaction, like,
Yeah, thanks. I'll count them later.
and he dealt with it like a professional, threw them like into the field.
Whoa, okay, like a professional. He literally was in the back of the pickup just tossing snakes over his head. That's not a professional. And when he lifted his head up, he was attacked by a bunch of snakes. And then for the rest of the movie, he's basically just regular Ernest.
It pays off more often than you think.
One of my favorite gags and bits was when he does go to Vern's house, because he's got this new Christmas tree that he found on the freeway.
Ho, 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 Vern. Merry.
He's like messing up his house, knocking over everything, and we get the classic Vern POV, which is great. Just like, what are you possibly doing? And then he tries to light it up or something, and he just starts pulling on this wire, and it just like rips off all of, like, his whole wall is just destroyed by the end of it.
I know what we need, Vern. Bolt cutters.
That was a very classic like play on the TV show. So this film does stay true to like the Ernest verse, I guess this would be.
The ErnieVerse.
I like lots and lots of butter with mine, don't you?
So we're at the point now where everyone kind of believes Santa exists except for Joe. So they come up with this big plan where like Santa's gonna give his speech to Joe, Ernest is gonna go get the reindeers because he's worried about rush hour, and Harmony, well, this is where the wrench comes into play. She's in Ernest's house, she wants those millions of dollars in small unmarked bills, and she like does the fake out. She puts what they think is the sack.
It's a sack filled with feathers. And she's down at the train station. She's like, I'm taking off. Screw this.
Yep, she's off to Miami. But like this is where the Christmas spirit comes into play because you have to have that moment
You
where
do need this. Like, yeah, up until now, we don't have a ton of Christmas.
we have a Santa Claus.
We have a Santa Claus, key to Christmas. Very essential.
We need the spirit. Harmony realizes her wrong, and Santa has full faith in her. Oh, almost full faith. He does say that he didn't fully believe at some point.
But he's just sitting there hanging out with Birdie.
He's looking for his new Mrs. Claus.
He gets to go back to his old ways and walk off with Birdie later on.
So, are you doing anything tonight?
So Harmony's on her way back with the sack. Joe's coming over because he's like, I have to believe this exists. I'm gonna be the new Santa.
It's him. I'm him.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
And it's all thanks to Ernest, because this is where Ernest Saves Christmas.
He illegally took a sleigh with reindeer and ran off with them.
The elves were there.
Okay, so they signed for it, and he's like, I'm taking this.
Ernest was the driver. He's a taxi driver.
But weren't the elves going to be the taxi drivers?
We don't know that. We feel like Santa had this whole plan where Santa was going to meet the elves there with Joe and the sack, and they were going to take off at the airport like a normal transportation flight craft would.
So the elves are the flight attendants? All they did was scream their friggin' little heads off.
This is how Ernest saves Christmas. If Ernest didn't screw up, Joe wouldn't have saw him fly in circles around the world and right past him. Because when Joe saw Ernest in that sleigh, he then believed and left. So Ernest saves Christmas.
Fine.
Air brakes.
But the best part of this whole movie was when he called the elves little gherkins.
Don't you worry, my little gherkin buddies.
Fucking cracked up.
That was good. I mean, Ernest is the best part of this whole film. It's the reality.
Everything he does, like him looking directly into the camera, his facial expressions, his ew. You gotta have one of those in there.
Tons of you know what I means.
You know what I mean?
I'm at one with the Yuletide, know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
So at the end of the day, Joe decides to take on the Santa role. And this is one of the issues I have with this film. They made such a big deal about Joe shaving his beard.
What did you do to yourself?
And then when they shake hands and the torch is passed, he like fully transforms.
Grows a beard.
Grows a beard. He goes full Santa Claus on us. Tim Allen grew a beard like that, so did Joe.
Must be in the claws.
Now it's like he's got 1 minute to take off because 7 o'clock is the hard deadline. If they don't start delivering presents by 7 p.m., then there's no more Christmas.
I don't think there should be a hard deadline. 1 minute? What, you think kids all wake up at the same goddamn time? Not a chance.
That's according to old Santa's rules. Who knows what Joe Santa could do? Like, he's got, like, superpowers because he makes it snow.
It's snowing. It's like home.
He has more magic than Santa himself. Although he is now Santa himself, and we're just referring to Santa as Seth Applegate.
This is Saint Nick II, who passed on to Joe.
Potentially the third, because he said he took it on from somebody else. At least Saint Nick III.
If we're going off of, like, Violent Night rules, it started from a Viking to...
You think Violent Night is canon to the ErnieVerse?
I mean, you're dealing with the character that is Santa Claus. That is a whole multiverse in itself.
Where's Stephen Strange when you need him?
The nightmare begins.
You opened the doorway between universes, and we don't know who or what will walk through it.
Now we got Seth. He's chilling with Birdie. And Ernest is a little bummed out of the whole situation. Joe's got to fly out to deliver those presents. Harmony is now going by Pamela, her original name. We finish off the film with a very happy moment in Joe welcoming Ernest to be his driver.
I knew they'd come to their senses.
And Harmony to be an honorary elf.
And Seth and Birdie go to have dinner. Everyone wins.
Or sex.
Are you doing anything tonight?
Well, we don't know any of the lore of Mrs.
Right.
Claus right now, so like he could be two-timing.
Did you ever find your sack?
He was so innocent, and maybe he's never done it.
You think that Santa is a virgin?
Without a Mrs. Claus, Santa could be a virgin.
That guy fucks. He's got hoes in different area codes because he can be there in like seconds. He's ludicrous, baby.
I've got hoes.
But if you're 151 years old, do you want to bang?
It depends. It doesn't matter if he is having sex now. It's, has he had sex ever?
Which brings us to the next point of Joe. What's Joe gonna do with his love life? Is Joe gonna go get a Mrs. Claus?
Does he inherit the old Mrs. Claus? I'm very curious about the whole situation because what happens with Seth? Because now he's no longer Santa. He can't get back to the North Pole because he has no magic. That's why he took a plane in the first place. Does he just take over Joe's house? And if so, does he have Joe's wife if Joe has a wife?
And where does Seth get all his money? Because he only has funny money, because he gave all his money to a kid last Christmas.
This bill carries the likeness of one Mr. Funtime.
What happens with Seth now?
Birdie
he has to move in with Birdie. Birdie needs to take him under her wing. And Santa just like up and goes. Like, does he have to eat and stuff? Like, does he just move? Did he put all his stuff in the sack?
I feel he's got 364 days to figure out before he's got to like be prepared for Christmas Eve again.
I fly in once a year. I don't think I've quite got the magic for another trip.
Santa's like the best job. You work 1 day a year?
It's like a 24-hour gig.
Yeah, you work one 24-hour day.
That's true. It's not bad. But I mean, you also...
What do you mean not bad?
But you also
That's
gotta...
the best.
You
And
also,
you have whatever you want.
Yeah, but
you're magic.
You gotta take into consideration his like naughty and nice list check-in. Like you can't slack on that because then you can't give
It's almost
every
all
kid
in
what
his
they want.
head.
To be fair, he also has helper elves, so that probably like takes out the load.
I think Santa is the best job.
You should apply for it.
If I look like this and I'm like, oh, hey, Vern, you need a ride, Santa? I'll help you out, pal.
Transfer. When the magic is transferred, you get a whole new wardrobe and a full fresh beard. And hair.
Thank God.
You're gonna be jolly.
I feel like I'm pretty jolly already. I have rosy cheeks because I'm hammered all the time.
You're now Santa Claus. You're not Jay Bond.
I'd like to be called Santos the Claus.
I feel you can do what you want once you become the Claus.
Well, he had it on his passport, so maybe he didn't have an option. Who gave that man a passport?
Elves probably whipped that up.
Not only do they make toys, but they make false IDs as well.
How did Seth get money? Like, how did Santa get money?
Magic. Just jumped into a vault real quick. I want to be Santa, except for the virgin part.
You think of something.
Like, maybe I don't want a wife. I don't know. Now I'm curious. This is already stressing me out, and I'm not even Santa yet.
If you don't have a wife, you just gotta hang out with the elves all the time.
They're annoying as hell.
Your little gherkins.
All they do is scream. Although that's a specific situation of being whipped around the globe multiple times in a matter of seconds. I'd be screaming too.
You were also like nervous when the slate stopped.
Yeah, oh, you're right. I'm afraid of heights. I can't deliver anything. You think I'm gonna be standing on your chimney thinking about like, okay, I guess I gotta jump down this thing. Not a goddamn chance.
And you're claustrophobic. You wouldn't survive as Santa.
I'd survive on fruitcake and Toblerone. And cookies and milk. I'd get more milk in my diet, that's for sure. There are upsides, there are downsides. Whether or not I become Santa, I'll let you know. But the only way to know is if you subscribe to the channel. And if you're a nice boy or girl.
We don't want no naughty boys and girls on this channel.
No, y'all get fucking hidden and blocked and banned. At the end of the day, this was an Ernest movie. Ernest did what he was supposed to do. Did he save Christmas? Very arguably. But Santa became Santa at the end. It was wholesome at times. You've got Christmas vibes throughout. You've got Ernest doing stupid things, being Ernest, talking to Vern. At least he's giving him a tree and stuff. But for the most part, the movie is very slow. The whole interactions with Joe, the agent, and Santa, and even like Joe's agent talking to the movie people. Like there's a lot of scenes that just drag on for a long time. So like Mostly, I was not having a good time, despite how great Jim Varney is as Ernest. This was more like subtle interactions with characters and more like the relationships between the characters than some of the Ernest comedy you might be used to. It's not a movie that I would watch again, probably, and I feel sad saying that dressed as Ernest himself. I know this isn't very festive, but I have to give this 1.5 holiday punch bowls out of 5.
When I look at this film, I look at it from two aspects of a genre. I look at it as a Ernest film, and I also look at it as a Christmas special. If you are a big fan of Ernest, that humor is there. There is the Ernest jokes, there's the Ernest character that Jim Varney portrays perfectly. I liked those moments. As much as it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie at times, I did have that like holiday spirit with how the characters developed. Though I wish there was more Christmas involved in this film. My issues with this film lie with how it's paced, but it is a film that I do like to go back and revisit time and time again. The last time I watched this was only a couple years ago with my wife, and she cried at the end of this film.
I don't even know how that's possible.
I am Ernest P. Worrell, Thrill Driver.
I like it, and I would recommend it. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 3 holiday horror movie monsters out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We don't often cover Ernest movies, but we plan on covering more. We do a bunch of random movies. It's so all over the place, but it doesn't matter. We just hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
You know what I think that is? I think those are Latvian goats.